A focus group led by a longtime Democratic researcher who asked some 250 people to describe or compare each party to an animal. Republicans are seen as apex predators like lions, tigers, and sharks.
Wow.
Democrats are typically tagged as tortoises, slugs, or sloths. Slow, plodding, passive.
Come on, man.
How is it that you think that the Democratic Party has earned these descriptions?
John, I'm not focused on the animals that some New York Times reporter compares the political parties to. My constituents are human beings.
I doubt it.
So I'm focused on the humans I represent, not, animal comparisons.
I will tell you, it was the voters who were making the comparison with animals, and this was a focus group. It wasn't the New York Times reporter coming up with these labels. This was a Democratic-led focus group.
That is ridiculous. People that I represent want me fighting for the humans.
We're not paid actors. It really happened.
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight is our friend, Matt Palumbo, BonginoReport.com, author of the upcoming book on Alex Soros, The Heir, available for pre-order now, linked in the description. How are you, Matt?
Very good. Yourself?
I can't complain. Yeah.
Same here. And I promise to the audience this mic is staying attached to my mouth at all times. I
wasn't going to shame you for last.
Beyond repair. Well, I got shamed. I deserve to get shamed for it. So it's fine.
Well, I will remind you to eat the mic when necessary. But in the news tonight, hey, it appears we may be getting some spending cuts in the so-called big, beautiful bill after all. Elon Musk calling for some spending cuts. Trump today sounds receptive. I thought maybe he would push back and say biggest, best bill ever, can't be modified in any way, pass it yesterday. But it sounds like maybe Trump is open to a little Senate negotiation on some spending terms. The Seattle Trantifa conflict it's escalating once again. Seems like it took a little while off, but we're entering, summer of love season. So Trantifa, they're back in full force. The fight is about Christians openly worshiping in a city park. Of course, the most offensive thing imaginable to these people. Christians openly worshiping, even with a musical aid, Christian rock type stuff. And Antifa has once again deployed their obese armored leader, Derry Poppins, in Seattle. Are you familiar with Derry Poppins? You've seen him around?
Was that the thumbnail to this episode?
Yes.
Then yes. All right. Yeah. I figured there had to have been it.
Any opportunity. Nobody. I should have AI'd another Studio Ghibli depiction of him. That's like I don't know. Is that still the trend, or is that like 2 or 3 weeks ago?
I still see it. So
I should have done that. But anytime I can put Derry Poppins in the thumbnail, I'm going to take the opportunity. RFK Jr. drops the CDC's COVID vaccine recommendation for kids and pregnant women, and the history of attempting to force that vaccine on us is just rewritten by NBC News. And to close the show, we'll take calls and emails. If you'd like to call the show, you can find the link to the Discord server in the description. There are instructions and help available for you on the server. Plus, we'll catch up with your super chats as well. And hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show. You can do that one time or recurring for as little as $1 a month over on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Support for the show not only helps me sustain, but it pays the people who make this show possible. There are perks available for your support as well. And don't forget, lots of new graphics up in the merch store too, t-shirts, mugs, and more. Likewise, merch sales help not only my operation, but they support the designers who make these graphics, all of whom are listeners of this stream, mattchristiansenmedia.com/shop. Find both of those links right there on the homepage, mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay, if you can't spell my confusing name. Are you interested in a business partnership on mattis.gay? I could really boost your book sales
I mean, I could use all the help I could get.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm really trying hard. I need to sell 5,000 by December, then I'm on the New York Times bestseller list.
Oh, well,
so
there you go.
That's the
I
goal.
assume you've clipped that before with your past work, huh?
But I got Spygate was New York Times bestseller.
Yeah.
The George Soros one, it sold 15,000 by then, and they snubbed it. So I at least got media attention out of the snub, which sold more. So it worked out in my favor. But and it's kind of a badge of honor. So
congratulations, buddy.
They might. So I don't know. Maybe they'll just do it again with this one, but we'll see.
All right. Well, we'll talk mattis.gay business offline sometime.
Excellent. It'll be very straight, though.
Speaking of business, though, got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends over at Hope Innovations. Hey, have you ever wanted to grow your own garden, but you didn't feel like you had the space? With food prices rising and chemicals being added to our food every day, you might consider adding a hydroponic garden system to your home. Grow clean and fresh produce all year round with the Eden Tower from Hope Innovations. When it comes to growing your own food, invest in the best system out there and discover the joy of regularly having freshly harvested salads, homegrown herbs, tomatoes, peppers, and more with your very own hydroponic system engineered to be elegant and practical. The Eden Tower stands above the competition with its patented cup system that allows you to drop a seed and go. You do not need a green thumb to easily grow delicious and nutritious food. Business has been so good over at Hope that they're sold out on these kits until next month. But you can still get an order in for delivery coming up soon in June. 50% down now, 50% due at shipping. You still get that awesome $200 listener discount. That's right. Listeners of this show get $200 off an Eden Tower Hydroponics Kit from Hope Innovations through a listener-exclusive link available on my website. Head on over to mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Find the Hope Innovations section. Click the link. $200 off an Eden Tower Hydroponics Kit. Get started growing your own food easily and simply today or very soon in June. But sooner rather than later. mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals for all the information on that. And a reminder, hey, if you have a smelly dad, get him some fine new cologne for Father's Day. Or, if you want to smell nice for your dad on Father's Day, whatever your nice smelling needs for Father's Day may be, try out some cologne to assist you in your efforts. Hero Soap Company is rolling out my signature soap scents as colognes now. Timberline is that classic frosty pine experience. Old West is oak and leather, busting open the saloon doors. You can get these fine new colognes or any other of Hero Soap's fine offerings, bar soaps, liquid soaps, shampoos, conditioners, and more. 10% off all of it. Promo code MCListener. HeroSoapCompany.com. Well, moving into the news, we may actually get some spending cuts out of the big, beautiful bill. Recall that passed the House last week by one vote, and it's on to the Senate. Are you Team Trump on this, or are you Team Thomas Massie, or somewhere in between?
I just feel like Thomas Massie is a contrarian on every possible thing for the sake of it. Like, I was joking the other day, they could have a vote on abolishing cancer, and he'd be the only vote against it. And for some reason, his reasoning would somehow make sense, But
oh, okay. So you're not saying he's completely kooky?
No, no. He I think he's the only guy that actually reads the bills.
Well, that is kooky in Congress. Yeah.
Which is so he's total weirdo. But I know it sounds like I'm contradicting myself from 10 seconds ago, but no, we do need a voice like that in Congress, and we do need spending cuts in this bill, which it was news to me that Trump is actually now receptive to that, which is good news. I
love to see this because I get it. Thomas Massie is often a thorn in the side to the agenda, and I agree with Thomas Massie on principle. I like Thomas Massie. I wish Thomas Massie was running the country, frankly. He's not. He's one member of Congress. So I get it that Donald Trump is the president, and if you want to get things through Congress, you probably have to be a little bit more practical than the purely principled Thomas Massie approach. But I hate when Trump goes on these Thomas Massie hate rants about how he doesn't understand how government works, and he's ruining the agenda or whatever else. That is one of the worst versions of Trump that I think we get. And I wish he would say something like maybe he's saying now, which is, we're not going to get to like what Thomas Massie might want, but he's right that if we're ever going to come close to fixing this problem, it's not a tax cut thing, it's a spending cut thing. And so now we're kind of seeing some movement on that, where when last we left this conversation over the weekend, it passed the House by one vote. You had Ron Johnson in the Senate, Rand Paul in the Senate talking like, we're kind of Team Massey on this. We need to see some cuts. Like, we're on board with the idea of tax cuts. This bill is not total crap in that regard. But if we're just going to continue Biden-era spending, generally speaking, why were we elected to majorities in both houses of Congress? And so not only do you have members of the Senate potentially demanding some spending cuts out of this deal, but this week we also have Elon Musk of Doge fame coming out and saying he is a little bit disappointed in this bill because it doesn't do spending cuts. Not only does it not do spending cuts, I mean, there's a little bit around the edges of we're going to maybe not give Medicaid benefits to illegals and things like that. But there's all the fraud, waste, and abuse, as they've characterized it, discovered by Doge, that's not codified through this bill. You think you'd at least just take the Doge findings and write them into this bill and do away permanently by law with the spending, the wasteful spending that you've identified with Doge. They're not doing that yet, but Elon Musk is throwing his influence behind the side of this debate that says maybe we ought to do that.
Yeah. I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both.
Wisely stated.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, the estimates I saw were that if you do a dynamic scoring of the bill, which means you account for the fact that the tax cuts are stimulative and therefore you'll have increased economic activity and therefore extra tax revenue from that, and which will offset.
You're the fact check guy. Does that play out in reality? I'm not asking rhetorically. I don't know. I know that is the conservative talking point about increasing tax revenues through increased productivity. Is that legit? Does that play out in reality?
So yes, but the right oversells it. So it is true there is a Laffer curve effect in that if you had tax rates at, 90% and you reduce it to 65%, the increase in economic activity actually could boost, the revenue could go from here to here. Now, what a lot of people are doing and are being misleading with it is, suppose we lived in a world where the government in this hypothetical gets $50 million a year in revenue and the tax rate is 50%. So I want to cut it to 25%. And in theory, that should reduce the tax revenue to $25 million. It should cut it in half. Now, that would stimulate the economy. So maybe the tax revenue actually gets cut down to $35 million. So some Republicans, and even Art Laffer himself, will misrepresent that and say, it boosted revenue by $10 million. Well, no, it boosted it by $10 million after it was supposed to go down by $25 million. It's still a decrease of $15 million. So it depends how you phrase it. So if you have really, really high tax rates, and I think it's probably 55+%, that if you were above that and cut it, you would actually increase revenue from where it was before. When you're below that, and economists disagree on this number. I could be talking out of my ass, but it's whenever you project, you're going to lose $1 in tax revenue, you do get a rebate. So it might be you lose 90 cents for every dollar you thought. So in other words, the estimates I saw were that the deficit would go up by $2.5 trillion over 10 years without this sort of dynamic effect. If you accounted for it, and I think it was accounting for a 0.8% boost in annual GDP growth, it would go down to 1.7 trillion. But obviously, there are so many factors in the economy you can't account for. If there was some shock to the oil supply in the Middle East, that would throw that all out of whack. But
can you repeat the part of the stuff where you said all about the things?
Yeah. Anyway, if you could hold every variable constant, in effect, you'd recoup. What is that? $800 billion over 10 years, or $80 billion a year from the increased economic activity.
In this case, do you think that we'll get increased revenue from this tax cut?
We're going to
brevity.
lose,
I beg of you. Yes or no?
We're not going to go from here to here.
Yeah.
It's going to be, instead of going down from here, it's going to be here.
Okay.
So it'll be 1.7 trillion over 10 years as opposed to 2.5 billion, in other words.
All right.
Yeah. So you get a rebate, but it's not the whole cutting taxes increases revenue. I think that was true under JFK, under Ronald Reagan, but I don't think it's true where we are now.
Well, I think the one thing that is fundamentally true is, given our problems, we are going to have to cut spending to see anything close to our way out of this. And maybe we're too far gone to even to do that. But
at this rate, we could just freeze spending, and inflation's a much better way to cut spending because you don't piss anyone off. Basically, like if inflation's 3% a year,
I see what you're saying. Like a freeze is in effect a spending cut due to inflation. Got it.
Exactly.
So Elon Musk, given his influence with the president, coming out and saying, well, we probably should at least do the Doge cuts. I mean, come on, let's cut a little bit. That does make Trump's reaction very interesting, because how would Trump react? Is he going to stand by the big, beautiful bill, historic bill, best bill ever passed, or is he going to concede a little bit? And Trump was asked about it at an unrelated press conference earlier today, and I'm surprised to see Trump making some concessions. At least that's what he's saying right now. Trump is now saying, instead of big, beautiful, best bill ever, I'm not happy about certain aspects of the bill, but he's thrilled by others, the tax cuts, which I think most sane people are. Yeah. But Trump said, we will be negotiating the bill, acknowledging that the legislation will likely be modified in the Senate. So instead of hey, pass that now as is, concessions are being made. Openness to negotiation, and not negotiation with insane, let's spend more type perspective, negotiation with people who want to slash. And I don't know how reliable I take this data point to be, but it's out there. She is a member of Congress, so I presume she has some information that's reasonably reliable. But Marjorie Taylor Greene was tweeting earlier today, I was just told that we're going to see the first Doge cuts bill on Monday. So whether this is a separate bill, or I would assume it'd be integrated into this budget bill, but she's calling it a separate bill by implication there. Anyway, foreign aid and NPR and PBS, or the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, potentially on the chopping block.
Good.
No specifics what this might be right now, but this is just what Marjorie Taylor Greene heard. So I don't know if I would count on it, but I am glad that this bill appears to be heading in the right direction. Even if we don't know specifics right now, I'll take good news in the right trajectory. And I think credit is due to those who applied a little bit of fair pressure here. Thomas Massie, Ron Johnson, Rand Paul, others. They get a lot of criticism from the hardcore MAGA fan base, but they were right and they were fair. And I think that they're going to get a little bit of movement in their direction in the end here, which is good for the country. Good. Is it saving the country? Well,
it's hard to do.
Yeah, we'll try. But and other Trump news. Did you see this today? Trump is talking about pardoning the Michigan Whitmer fednapping plot guys.
Good.
This was part of that same press conference earlier today. There's been discussion of this, and so a reporter just straight up asked him, hey, there's guys in federal prison for this Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot bullshit back in 2020. You've pardoned a lot of people. What do you think about pardoning them? And Trump seems not only open to it, it sounds like there's actually work being done on this.
Go ahead, please. Will you pardon the people who are accused of conspiring to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer?
I'm going to look at it. I will take a look at it. It's been brought to my attention. I did watch the trial. It looked to me like somewhat of a railroad job. I'll be honest with you. It looked to me like some people said some stupid things. They were drinking, and I think they said stupid things. But I'll take a look at that. And a lot of people are asking me that question from both sides, actually. A lot of people think they got railroaded. A lot of people think they got railroaded. And probably some people don't.
God, he has a future career in being a defense attorney, I think.
I love that the I was drunk excuse might actually work.
I mean, kinda. They are okay, so if people don't remember,
it's all talk.
It really was though, and it was talk with feds.
will say stuff like, I wish I could shoot such and such pellet. Like, everyone talks that way. Who cares? I don't know.
I love
it
the
was
Trump,
totally BS.
The Trump claim too. Both sides are coming to me demanding the release of please name Democrat names. Who are the Democrats who want these men released? Maybe Gretchen Whitmer wants them released so they can be repurposed to make her a victim once again. And she can use that to her political benefit, coming up in the next election or something. But when I say there's movement on this, Ed Martin is the DOJ's pardon attorney, and he says he's taking a good hard look at the case. So maybe there's some traction here. But just to remind everyone of what the circumstances are, federal prosecutors charged 6 people. Remember, there are state charges and convictions in Michigan, but Trump's pardon power would apply to the federal charges and convictions, of course. But then I guess maybe even the guys who, let's see, the ones who were acquitted can't be retried again, obviously.
Right.
And then there were guilty pleas. So those guys, even though they pleaded guilty and were sentenced to prison, I mean, that would apply to them too, the ones who didn't even go to trial. But 6 people were charged federally with conspiring to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And remember, in addition to the drunk talk that you were talking about, that 70s show style basement drinking and gather around and talk shit with the boys type stuff. What happened is they were busted supposedly scouting her house for this attack. And they were escorted. I think the final tally when the last van was driving to the bus was something like 3 feds in a van with like 4 unknowing guys, or I don't know how many it was. It must have been, maybe it was 6. I don't know. But the Fed to alleged criminal ratio was very high. So they're scouting out her house supposedly to blow it up, or to, I guess they weren't going to blow up her house. When they got busted, they were meeting with their explosives dealer, who turned out to be an undercover Fed. And the explosive dealer was supposedly giving them explosives to take out bridges so that people could not get to Gretchen Whitmer's house or escape Gretchen Whitmer's house, I guess. That was the whole premise of the bust that happened.
World War II battle.
Yeah, right. It was right before the 2020 election. But anyway, 2 of those guys, Barry Croft and Adam Fox, were found guilty at federal trial, sentenced to a decade in prison. They're still in prison. And that, by the way, that was their second trial. There was a hung jury in their first trial. So federal prosecutors got a practice run and then a real run, which, as I've talked about before, how that is not double jeopardy, I'll never understand, but that's beside the point. 2 pleaded guilty, sentenced to prison terms. I'm not clear if they're still in prison or not, but obviously if Trump pardoned them, then their convictions would be erased. And 2 were acquitted, so they're fine no matter what. Now, we know that there were multiple undercover feds organizing the plan. They were helping to operate the group. They were feeding drunken ideas to these men late at night. Hey, bro, you ever thought about this? There was a guy, I forget what his last name was, but Dan. And I've always called him Dan the Fed because this was their main informant that the FBI was coaching up to give these guys ideas and to recruit new members to the group. That guy was given a car and other compensation totaling something like $50,000. So he got, it wasn't cash, but the value of everything he was provided was almost like a salary equivalent from the FBI to entrap these guys. So I really hope Trump does this. He'll pay a political price if he does. It will be fodder for Democrats. But just from a pure justice perspective, these guys were completely entrapped by the FBI, and the whole thing was a joke. And so I hope it happens. When I say there's a political price, like there is, insofar as Democrats will pounce. They'll make a big deal of it, but who's going to not vote for, Trump's not going to be up unless he does the 3rd term thing, but who's going to what independent is available to the Republicans, but is going to change his mind because Trump pardoned the 2020 fednap guys? There's a theoretical political downside, but I just don't think the cost is very high.
I think a lot of people will go down the rabbit hole and realize it's BS. And I think not only should Trump let these guys off, he should repossess the car that was gifted to the Fed if he can. I don't think
he should give it to them. Yeah, take Dan's car.
You should regift it
and give it to them.
Yeah.
Well, the Seattle Trantifa war is back on for the spring. This is the character I was referencing.
Oh, I've seen this before. This is a recurring character.
Oh, you've probably seen it on my stream, but
I'm
I'm not the only one. But this is, of all the legendary Antifa characters like Moldy Locks, and I guess like AIDS Skrillex wasn't really Antifa, but you know, these legends of the left, specifically like the 2016 original Trump era where they were really losing their minds. Derry Poppins was a later emergence, but man, for my money, Derry Poppins is maybe the premier mythical creature of fringe left-wing violent politics, especially on the West Coast. But yes, this is legendary Seattle Trantifa figure Derry Poppins. There's a very large man, getting larger apparently, as we'll see in a moment. Roams the rainy city with an umbrella, hence the nickname Derry Poppins. He attacked Seattle reporter Jonathan Cho, who was covering the city's effort to remove homeless tents in this particular instance. You can see some tents behind Derry Poppins there. But in this case, the original Derry Poppins emergence, Derry Poppins was defending the hobos from the encroachment of the city, trying to remove them from their rightful place on the sidewalk. Remember, this is back before the Supreme Court struck down that Ninth Circuit ruling. So back at the time, you had a constitutional right to a sidewalk encampment in the Ninth Circuit. Remember those days? You ever exercise that right? Anyway, here are some classic throwback Derry Poppins sightings from Jonathan Cho.
Good.
Just so you know, every single time anyone posts pictures of this person, it's just nonstop online harassment. So I hope that you know that.
Bro, get out of my face, man, all right?
Oh,
here, get this. Don't touch me, man. Don't touch me.
That ain't no woman. It's a man.
Or kind of a man. It's either the estrogen or the obesity, but his assets are coming in nicely. I think this is older.
Someone once remarked that leftism is a revolt against biology.
Kinda.
And there is like when I was doing the Alex book, I was researching every group that they funded in the last year, and so I went to a couple thousand different left-wing websites, and there's not one attractive person on any of them. I don't know if they don't exist or if they just love this sort of forced ugliness. But
I think there's something. People have done apparent studies or supposed studies on this, and they claim that it's scientifically demonstrable. I don't know if that's true, but I will say that the philosophical nature of the ideology lends itself to ugliness. What I mean by that is, number one, you're in a war against the truth, okay? Like, it's very hard to be beautiful or pretty when you're out of alignment with the natural world order. Like, what is beautiful other than the natural perfection, okay? And you can't achieve that if you're doing fundamentally unnatural things. But the other thing that's ugly or manifests itself in ugliness about their philosophy is that it's inherently victim-based. Like, the whole philosophy is pointing fingers at other people. Oh, this thing about my life, it's that guy's fault. It's this person's fault. When you believe that, you let yourself decay because everything that's wrong about you, including your physical condition, isn't your fault. You have no control over it. Why would you go to the gym? Why would you eat better? Why would you take care of yourself? Everything else is someone else's fault. When you believe in victimhood fundamentally, it manifests itself in ugliness for that reason. So that's why I think there is truth to it. I don't think it's just like, oh, my side has hot people and their side doesn't or something.
Well, you even see it in architecture, like the whole brutalist movement is a very far left movement. And I don't know, everything is there's exceptions, Scandinavia is nice and there's some nice liberal main streets in some very affluent areas. But as a whole, it's an ideology of hideousness.
Yeah. Well, why do I bring up Derry Poppins? Well, because I love to milk the lol cow. Sorry, I botched the line. But anyway, I love to milk that lol cow, number one. Number two, Derry Poppins has returned. Derry Poppins is back. And Jonathan Cho had a sighting of Derry Poppins down at Seattle City Hall early this week. But Jonathan Cho calls Derry Poppins Meal Team 6. So, that's who he's talking about. So unfortunately for Derry Poppins, all that patrolling around the city is not working, apparently, from a weight loss perspective. Because Derry Poppins, I believe, is even larger.
That's Meal Team 6. Meal Team 6 is back out. All right, this is the Antifa activist who targeted me, has clearly transitioned to a female now. Wow.
Not clearly at all.
I sense a little sarcasm in Jonathan's tone there.
It's crazy that you could look at the one from 2022 and say he blew up from that. Like, I don't know. That was
well, where does one even find black dresses that large? Is this like, I don't know. Are they custom built by some sort of specialized factory with specialized equipment, or where do you find them down at the thrift shop? Do you find them at the Ross? Where do you get these things? Is there a big and tall enough for that? Is my question.
Not an expert.
But okay, so what's going on here? Why are they at City Hall? Well, this protest was down at City Hall on Tuesday in Seattle. This is the second major clash in the Trantifa war, at least the latest Trantifa skirmishes in the broader war in Seattle in just the last few days. This protest at City Hall, like the event over the weekend at the park, was organized by Mayday USA, which is a Christian group that had this event at a city park on Saturday that descended into chaos. Mayday USA was protesting the mayor for blaming them for violence at that event in the park on Saturday. So it is Christian people, musically inclined Christian worshipers versus Trantifa is the developing Seattle conflict here. But the event on Saturday was at Cal Anderson Park. And Cal Anderson Park is the former site, at least partially, of the of 2020's famed Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ, the same spot. So Mayday USA, this Christian pro-life anti-tranny group, they, or at least anti-transgender ideology, they held this concert and a rally to promote Christian faith, oppose transgender ideology, all that stuff. The group had a city permit for this event, so it's not just some pop-up. Like, this was a formal event. They went through the legal process to make sure they're square with the city. It was all official. And during the event, Trantifa militants show up. They disrupt. They end up fighting with rally attendees and police. And here's Jonathan Cho reporting on what happened in the park on Saturday.
Hundreds of Christian worshipers flooded Seattle's Cal Anderson Park Saturday afternoon to pray for the city and take a stand for traditional family values, especially against transgender ideology targeting children, all part of the Mayday USA revival movement sweeping across the nation. Far-left activists and Antifa militants tried to disrupt the concert.
Pushing cops, fighting, absolutely insane.
Throwing water balloons at the crowd, menacing attendees, and some activists even tried rushing the stage.
I would say there's two kingdoms clashing here today. There's the kingdom of God, and then there's the kingdom of Satan.
Trans activists marched into the park, adding to the number of people targeting followers of Jesus Christ with nasty messages, vile curse words, and full-blown debauchery. But even with the taunting, middle fingers, and disparaging comments, Folake Kellogg says prayers of love and forgiveness were sent to their attackers on the other side.
Not only do we come here to show the love of God, but we hope that by the time we are done here, that the atmosphere in Seattle will change.
I dare you, fucking bitch!
That's really the conflict. There were 23 arrests, 8 of them for assault. But do you think these Christian worshipers are a little too Christian in their forgiveness? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, we can leave the forgiveness to God. Turning the other cheek isn't gonna it's just. You can only turn the other cheek so many times in that you.
They turned some cheeks themselves. You see those flashing cheeks in the story? Those were rough.
I actually misunderstood your comment, so I'm not trying to laugh at anything inappropriate. If you
No, I was laughing at her butt
Oh, you
cheeks.
mean the ass cheeks?
Yeah.
Oh, so that is funny. Listen, it's sort of like, libertarian principles where, or being against cancel culture, where it only works if both people have the same morality. In that if one person utilizes it, or one side, the other side is always going to be the losing side because they're not willing to fight back. And if you are constantly turning the other cheek to people who want to stab you in the face, it doesn't really work. Like, you have to...
You run out of cheek for them to stab. They stabbed it all off.
It's okay. I should phrase this differently because I don't want it to seem unchristian. It's, you need to, one, fight back. Two, have a legal system that punishes these people, which I know they don't have in Seattle. And then you can pray for them and hope they repent. But I don't know. I find it hard to give forgiveness to people who don't want it, personally.
Yeah, and I think even I am totally unqualified to teach you theology about forgiveness, but I don't understand in what I have studied or talked about in my Bible study on this topic. Obviously, forgiveness in this concept is not the excusal of justice or something like that. It's not.
I did a poor job of explaining. Like,
I don't think you did. I don't think these people would say.
But
I don't think the park goers, and I'm not saying you're saying they're saying that, if that makes sense. But I don't think these park goers would say, yeah, it's fine if they attack us. I think what they would say is, we pray for them and we forgive them so that they can be reformed from their degenerate ways. Yeah.
I have these stories in my head where it's basically cliche where, like, when a white person's family member gets killed by a black person and 3 seconds later they're like, yeah, I forgive them. What are we going to do?
You calling out Austin's dad here?
I just have that in my head. And I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, forgiveness it's a very, I suppose, nuanced discussion. Like, forgiveness for its own sake, I don't think is necessarily the value. It's forgiveness in pursuit of virtue and justice, for someone to reform and become virtuous and to realize justice. Forgiveness is a necessary ingredient, perhaps, but it's only a value insofar as it pursues and achieves those things. Like, if you forgive a guy who just keeps stabbing cheeks in the way you're describing, at some point someone has to stop him from stabbing cheeks.
Correct.
That's too many. Okay.
Cheeks on the face.
Yeah. Anyway, this is interesting topics about how to wield power in retribution, and because it circles back to the FBI here. I'll get to that in a moment. But okay, why were they down at City Hall protesting on Tuesday? It's because the mayor of Seattle released this ridiculous statement on Saturday night. This is Bruce Harrell. And he was all but condemning the event organizers who were attacked, even though they were permitted. They were peaceful, as far as we can see. The violent agitators who tried to shut them down, he's excusing them. The statement reads in part, Seattle is proud of our reputation as a welcoming, inclusive city for LGBTQ plus communities, and we stand with our trans neighbors when they face bigotry and injustice. Today's far-right rally was held here for this very reason, to provoke a reaction by promoting beliefs that are inherently opposed to our city's values in the heart of Seattle's most prominent LGBTQ plus neighborhood.
Look at this fat.
So, okay, you can't do it there. The mayor's statement also says the city should adjust how it issues permits for such events. While there are broad First Amendment requirements around permitting events under free speech protections, here comes the but, bigger than the shaking butt that we saw in the video. I am directing the Parks Department to review all of the circumstances of this application to understand whether there were legal location alternatives or other adjustments that could have been pursued. So we're just talking heckler's veto here. The gays live near this park, and you can't go. As far as I've seen, there wasn't even an anti-gay thing. It wasn't like Westboro Baptist, God hates fags. It was just like, I don't know, man, maybe loving Jesus and maybe men are men and women are women would be something good for our communities to uphold. But you can't say that in the presence of our protected gay community. And then the mayor added, I love this part too, because the protesters went down to City Hall and they just said like, hey, you suck, man. And now he's the victim. Oh, I won't be intimidated. I'm so brave. His statement reads something to that effect. But the end of his statement is, I'm so brave and I won't be intimidated because I'm Seattle's second black and first biracial mayor.
Shut up, faggot.
I mean, come on. I'm the second black, but the first, I think he's black and Chinese, or like black and Asian.
I thought he was Asian, not black when I saw him.
Yeah, that's a stretch on black,
meat.
dude.
It's just a mystery meat kind of thing going on.
There's your second black mayor of Seattle.
You are fake news.
Right there.
Very fake news.
Dude, no one would call that guy black.
No. Yeah. You know Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine identifies as black?
I guess I haven't seen a picture of him in a long time.
Oh, he's not black. Yeah.
Let me pull that up.
He looks like he just looks tan.
I
mean, I think his
he's
father
like,
actually is
I don't
black,
know, man. He might be like, let me pull this up. He might
I think
be
his
like,
father actually is black. He just doesn't look it at all to me.
I would credit that with like Cory Booker black.
Bingo.
Okay.
Don't you think?
That's more fair than that. That's the blackest I've ever seen him, I'll just say. So
I expected whiter. Yeah, he outblacked my expectations.
I failed you. All right,
Anyway, back to the second black mayor of Seattle, pictured right there.
He's actually blacker than that guy. What the hell am I saying? All right, just ignore the past minute of the show.
Ignore the past
30
several years of this show. Many do. Anyway, the heckler's veto. What the mayor is saying here. Well, if like the protected special community doesn't like it, you shouldn't have a First Amendment right to go into the park and say whatever you want on peaceful terms. That's the heckler's veto idea. These people are just too emotional, too unstable, too enraged that they just get to tell you can't. You don't have a right to exercise your First Amendment rights in this park. But that's not how the First Amendment works. We don't have a heckler's veto for exactly that reason. You have a right to say what you want, as long as you're not advocating imminent violence or something like that. So now, in pursuit of protecting First Amendment rights, well, we're getting a little bit of federal involvement.
Fed.
Perhaps your favorite Fed, new Fed,
oh God,
FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino,
certainly is. So yeah,
is tweeting out. Even though everybody hates him now because he said Epstein killed himself, so Bongino stock way down. Sorry to,
Which, first of all, there's always the likelihood it was sort of like one of those scenarios where like the mafia hands you a gun and is like, all right, you know what to do. Like he didn't rule out the possibility that he was forced into it or like there's other ways he could have been murdered where it technically wasn't.
And even if he did, and I don't think Dan would dispute this, even if Epstein did legitimately kill himself, the circumstances of the suicide are insane. Like the camera's not working, the people disappearing, all that stuff.
That's the thing. Like even if it was him being allowed to kill himself, well, that itself is suspect, or if he was forced into it. And Dan didn't elaborate, which hopefully he does in the future. But I don't know. Here's the thing: if your whole, if I don't know, I was I'm trying to think of an analogy. I don't know, a 9/11 truther, and then I go into government and I get to see the documents myself, and I come out and say, yeah, turns out I was wrong. Well, or, turns out it wasn't this big Bush conspiracy. It's like, well, I don't know. I think that lends credibility to the argument that it wasn't if someone who was invested in it is now saying the opposite, which I don't even necessarily think he is. So I don't know. It's people are overreacting, and it's kind of that's the thing that sucks about being in politics is you can spend a decade cultivating an audience and you just say one thing they don't like and you're fucked forever.
I've had such experiences, although not on the scale that Dan has, but I've had similar experiences. Yeah.
From my second day in politics, I've had the cliched, man, I really like the old you, man, but this new you, I just can't agree with.
No, well, yeah, I mean that is the nature of it, and I know people who listen understand. I'm not taking shots. I appreciate everybody who listens to this show, whether you're listening now or whether you used to listen but you don't anymore. And of course, I'm not entitled to anybody's listen. You have to earn it, you have to maintain it, and people come and go over time, but. The sort of email or contact that is like, man, I've been listening to you since like 2016, but then you said like one thing I didn't like, and I'll search my email inbox, be like, okay, So you have listened for the better part of a decade, which I appreciate, by the way.
Yeah.
And you never emailed me over the course of that decade. I'm not saying I require praise, but just be like, hey man, I like your show. What do you think about X, Y, and Z? You've never done that. You were a lurker for a decade until I said a thing you didn't like, and now you have to let me know that you're disappointed in me.
Speaking of which, I do read all the comments, so if anyone wants to shower praise on me, now's the time.
Good luck with that.
You suck. Fuck you.
No one's saying that.
Back to the point.
Anyway, whatever it was.
The point is, are we going to watch FBI power wielded for good? Or when I say good, I mean like pro-America, pro-freedom, pro-Constitution reasons. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino tweeted last night, "We have asked our team to fully investigate allegations of targeted violence against religious groups at the Seattle concert. Freedom of religion is not a suggestion." Now, this is where I get conflicted, because while the FBI is still a bureau, and my sources say it is in fact still a bureau, and while Democrats deploy it against their enemies as their own political police force, I mean, hey man, I think a few swings of that sword have been earned, but especially if they're in pursuit of constitutional fidelity, which this is. This isn't just like eye for an eye, blind vengeance. It's like, hey man, the First Amendment means something, and no Seattle mayor guy, you can't just deny the First Amendment rights of Seattle citizens, because that's not the way that our legal system works these days. However, I do think it's important to remember the ultimate goal, long term, is to put down this sword. It's to cast that ring into the fire, if we can do such a thing. Yeah. Because as hilarious as it is for the FBI to finally maybe be taking some shots at left-wing city kooks, like the first or the second black mayor of Seattle, instead of going after, say, Christian abortion protesters or gun enthusiasts or right-wing meme posters, the more the Fed war accelerates, the harder it is to escape. And so here's a great way to really improve the big, beautiful bill. Delete the FBI in that bill. I know it's not going to happen, but I think maybe if we could get that done, or just, you can't delete I'm sure there aren't enough votes to delete the Bureau, but you could chip away at the funding. You could make that sword a little bit duller. You could scale it back. The reason I bring up this point is like, okay, it's cool that that people who probably have the right idea have the reins at the FBI right now, even if they've, been browbeaten by the powers that be into believing that Epstein killed himself. James Comey's been hanging out in the news recently. He saw that really cool seashell formation on the beach, but he was on Jen Psaki's show on MSNBC within the last couple of days. And Comey's out there saying, well, the Republican Party, they're now white supremacist adjacent. So, FBI agents should think carefully about which party they're willing to serve or work for or support.
Are we equipped? Is the law enforcement system and the legal system equipped to deal with what we're seeing now?
Probably there could be changes at the margins, but in the main, we have the tools. There are cultural impediments to doing this work. Let's say you work in the FBI. You know that one of the two political parties is, let me put it nicely, white supremacist adjacent at a minimum. And so why would you want to throw your career on that side of the line and be summoned to Capitol Hill to be asked, why are you pursuing these innocent groups? And so we have a cultural impediment to working it effectively that should get more attention than it does.
Okay. Why do I connect these stories? These people, when I say these people, I mean people at the FBI or James Comey, people formerly at the FBI. They think creatively every day about how to turn the FBI against their opposition when they're in power or when they're out of power, like James Comey is right now. Doesn't matter. The only way to stop, because if not James Comey himself, someone like James Comey is coming back to the FBI very soon. The only way to stop that is to diminish or destroy that power. And that's really what success with the FBI looks like. It's not restoring the FBI to do good things, even though I don't really have complaints with what Dan Bongino's talking about here. But long term, we were never supposed to have a federal police force with this much power. Police power was supposed to remain with the states. A proper FBI is probably no FBI at all, or a very minimal, very restrained one. And anyway, I want to remain focused on that goal, even when the FBI sword is getting few swings at maybe people who deserve it.
I just think it's awesome because I know we can't actually prove this, but it is very likely that James Comey is the reason Trump got elected in 2016 by reopening.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and Anthony Weiner. Don't forget about Anthony Weiner. He was a big part of that too.
Really? I actually completely forgot. What was his role?
It was because James Comey reopened the investigation, but it was Anthony Weiner's laptop that was the catalyst.
Yes, I do. That's awesome. That's oh, man, the stars aligned. Yeah, he must be kicking himself for that. Anyway,
So James Comey, ironically, is forever a part of history in that way. But one last topic before we get into some calls. Yesterday morning on X, HHS Secretary RFK Jr., who's kind of the de facto CDC guy right now, because there is nobody in at the CDC. Yeah. But he announced that the CDC is removing the COVID vaccine recommendation for healthy children and pregnant women. The recommendation from the CDC prior was everybody 6 months or older get a COVID vaccine every year. But, RFK has deployed the requisite experts that you can't question, and they're making the announcement.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary, and I'm here today with NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary. I couldn't be more pleased to announce that as of today, the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule. Last year, the Biden administration urged healthy children to get yet another COVID shot despite the lack of any clinical data to support the repeat booster strategy in children.
That ends today. It's common sense and it's good science.
There's no evidence healthy kids need it today, and most countries have stopped recommending it for children.
We're now one step closer to realizing President Trump's promise to make America healthy again.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
When was it ever necessary for children is the real question. But
well, that was the thing is like we closed schools and the one group the virus didn't kill was kids. And then the one group it mainly kills, aside from the obese, it was elderly people. And then we were all like, you know what we should do? We should take COVID patients and put them into nursing homes to make space for hospitals. Like it was as if it was designed to kill as many people as possible.
Hey, wasn't there a great book about when Andrew Cuomo did that with Bill de Blasio?
Glad you asked. It's called Dumb and Dumber by Matt Palumbo. It's the problem with a book like that.
I'm surprised Dumb and Dumber, the title, is not some sort of intellectual property that
it came out of trademark a couple years before, or copyright, whatever. But the problem with that book is a lot of it was code related, so it was out of date within like months of writing it. Unfortunately, in that regard, sort of. But just one last point with the kids was like because kids basically don't die from COVID, even if the vaccine side effect rate was like 1 in 100,000, it's still a net negative for them. And you had made this point, I think, in a video before that when liberals claim like, oh, COVID's the #1 cause of death for children, the death rate for children.
That's guns.
Oh, it was guns. Yeah. Well, for 1 year it was COVID, but like I think I'm stealing your point that if you had a plane crash with 30 kids on it, that alone would be a plurality of deaths. And
kids don't die, generally speaking.
Plane crashes are the #1 cause of death. So yeah, you're right. Kids generally don't die, and thank God that's the case.
So it's not just the like, okay, why are we granting the point that this was ever necessary for children, let alone anybody? I'm trying to. I get it. It's a step in the right direction. I have other points here beyond just ripping the message, but the coercive force used to try to push this on people, one of the greatest scandals of our time. Yeah. And so it's not like this is some big victory. This is a very small step in the right direction after miles in the wrong one. But there are a few interesting things about this move. And now that the government backtrack is on, and I know that doesn't mean as much because the people in power in the government are different now. Like if Joe Biden's CDC had come out and done this, wow, what a mea culpa that would have been. RFK doing it is like, yeah, you kind of expect that. Doesn't make it less valuable. It just means, I don't know, we sort of saw this coming. Anyway, if there is a government backtrack, apparently there's a journalistic backtrack as well. Or at least I saw one this morning. But to call it a backtrack, like a backtrack is an honest thing where you kind of you address the point and say, well, maybe not that, but this. This I could not believe that she said this. Discussing the news, this news for NBC's coverage this morning, Savannah Guthrie went out of the way to claim that the government never forced this vaccine at all.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announcing the CDC is no longer recommending vaccines for healthy children and healthy pregnant women. It's a major pivot from yearly shots for anyone 6 months and older to a risk-based strategy that only targets the most vulnerable, according to the administration. Of course, this is a significant shift from 2020 when the vaccine was first released. Some workplaces required proof of a shot. And of course, people remember having to carry around that vaccine card. NBC's Ann Thompson joins us now. Ann, good morning. I mean, to be clear, there's never been a vaccine mandate by the government. That's not what we're talking about here. These are recommendations.
Right. I don't want to hear any more of these lies.
This is this is defamation against Joe Biden. This is tarnishing his record. I don't know. I seem to remember not only a government mandate, the largest scale attempted government vaccine mandate in the history of the country that was ruled illegally done by the Supreme Court. So when she says, "Oh, to be clear," no, that is just to lie. There's to be clear. Headline just 3 years ago, January 25th, 2022. Biden administration withdraws vaccine mandate for businesses after losing Supreme Court case. So recall, they tried to use the Occupational Health and Safety Administration, or whatever it's called. That would be. Anyway, OSHA, the federal bureau that or agency that handles workplace safety, tried to use them to force everybody to get the vaccine or get fired. That was like, you can't have a workforce that is unvaccinated. You have to do this testing or get the vaccine or you're fired. Businesses get fined. They get punished if they don't comply. Supreme Court struck that down 6-3. So when she says there was no vaccine mandate from the government, I mean, I guess I could get really technical and say, well, they didn't say that you as an individual have to get the jab or you're punished. Oh, you're right. You just tried to go after the biggest employers in the country and say you must vaccinate your workforce or fire them or face fines from us. You weaponized the employment context to coerce people into getting this vaccine. Not a government mandate, I guess. That was just businesses had the choice whether to comply or not.
It's just a word game. It's like, well, we didn't force you. You just have to be unemployed forever, but you don't have to get it. Like, you starve to death.
And we're all just supposed to forget. And they treat us like we forgot. It's like, lady, we all lived that, unless you're like 2 and you're just learning your first words. We all lived that. We all remember. We all remember your coverage. Now, the reason that this move is also interesting, as part of that coverage this morning, they were talking about lawsuits. The CDC is going to get sued over this move because I guess, number one, they didn't follow like some technical procedural rules that maybe are legally important. But I thought, why would anyone sue over what they recommend? Like, who gives a rat's ass what they recommend, and how can you sue them into or out of recommending anything?
I know.
That's ridiculous. But I read about it, and it's actually because the CDC's vaccine recommendations have legal implications. It's under the Affordable Care Act, so Obamacare, health insurance policies are required to cover CDC recommended shots. So now, if the COVID shot is not recommended for you, if you're a pregnant woman or a child, you may have to pay for your COVID shot out of pocket.
Ooh, don't do it. Please, First of all, the whole, the fact that people still need to get the vaccine proves it doesn't work. You don't need to get the polio shot more than once, It's just very silly. Anyway.
It was safe and effective. Long-term protection, whatever. Now it's an annual thing. But these COVID vaccine junkies, they might be off the gravy train. How are they going to recover? We're going to need, like Seattle and San Francisco, they have those like safe withdrawal sites where they kind of give you dosages of the drug to take so that
micro COVID.
Micro dosing the vaccine.
Yeah.
But man, what I didn't know this was the case. What enormous power for the CDC on a whim. And I guess I should have assumed this, but this is a practical example. They can decide on a whim what health insurance policies must cover. And you wonder why your health insurance is so expensive. Well, it's because they're required by law to cover things you may not even want that the CDC waves its wand and says they have to cover. You can't buy a policy tailored to your wants or your needs. It has to provide a cut to Pfizer. Surely, though, more government involvement, more government entanglement, more government management of this will make it more affordable for you. Good luck and Godspeed.
My fucking health insurance has doubled since 2020.
Do you buy yourself if it's not too intrusive to ask? So we're in the same boat there. We both buy out of pocket.
I have a high deductible plan. I mean, the thing is, so it's a lot of money, but I max out my HSA. So it's like $4,500 to get as a write-off.
Yeah.
And then my premiums are like almost $6,000 a year, which is fucking crazy for a high deductible plan.
Yeah.
But I gotta write that off too, because I'm self-employed. So I get a $10,500 write-off on the 6. So I get back like $2,500 maybe, but it's still $4,500 net that I have to pay.
Well, then
for basically nothing.
If and when you go to the doctor, it's not as though it's covered. Yeah,
it's not. Yeah. The only thing that's covered is like anything preventative. So blood work is good, but it's as if I don't have insurance.
Pretty much, we're in the same boat there, and yeah. Well, if you decide to enter the state of fatherhood, then you're
coming soon.
Get ready for those bills.
December 2nd, coming soon.
Well, I didn't want to make the announcement, but congratulations, man. That's really great.
Well, it was your announcement. I found out. Well, I think I told you when you had your announcement, and I didn't want to take away from.
Oh, I thought it was a privacy thing.
Oh no! I just thought it would be weird to be like, oh, and by the way, me too. So
also me. Well, here is your
friends.
Here is your delayed congratulations on your upcoming or current fatherhood. Do you know or will you know if it's a boy or a girl?
It is a girl, so I'm hoping I don't make her turn out weird.
Well, like I said, start saving now too. If you'd like to help Matt Palumbo in his birth savings account, head on over to the link in the description. Pre-order copy of The Air by
Health and Human Services Secretary
do
Robert
that once a stream. The Air.
Very good book. They said she's growing a week ahead of schedule, and I'm 6'4", so I'm hoping she isn't freakishly tall.
Damn, you are a tall guy. Wow.
I think it's in the cards, probably.
All right. Yeah. Well, congratulations again. And I'm sure the topic will come up in future appearances as well. But let's get into some calls. So what you got to do...
I'm just going to hit the bathroom really quick.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I will... I'll get some calls in here while Matt takes a break. Skulldugger, are you there?
I am. Hello.
Matt had to step out to nature calls, but I can get you started. What's on your mind?
As much as I'd love to talk about COVID vaccines, because we haven't talked about those enough over the last couple of years here. Actually, one thing I want to say about the vaccine is I really wish the current actual science-minded member, now that we have actual scientists and not hack shills in charge of these organizations, the health organizations, I wish they would just come out and flat out redefine these vaccines as not vaccines. The COVID vaccines were never vaccines in the first place. They're therapeutics.
So I'm generally familiar with this, but if people aren't familiar with the distinction you're making, why do you say that they're not vaccines and they are therapeutics? What is the general difference?
The stimulation of immunity. So the vaccines as designed were never really meant to inoculate. So they're not actually producing an immunity to the virus. They're limiting the impact of what happens when an infection event occurs. We call that a therapeutic. So it's more of a treatment.
So why were they advertised as that they were good at preventing you from acquiring the virus? I mean, I know the answer is pure propaganda, but
Yeah.
These people, they knew that distinction and they told you the opposite anyway. I mean, is there more to it than just they're bad? They're liars?
Because
or what else is there?
You can push a vaccine. You can mandate a vaccine. You can't mandate a therapeutic.
So there is maybe a legal distinction they were trying to get at there?
Yes. So you have more leeway over vaccination status, especially in places like public schools and public areas. The actual usage of the word vaccine creates more of a legal framework.
Interesting.
Than just a you can't mandate. You can't force somebody to take any form of therapeutic.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like if it's just a medicine that treats your condition, what possible rationale would someone have to force you to take it if it's really about your experience with your ailment, your condition, whatever that is? They had to have this transmission component because that justifies like a public intervention in the way that you're talking about.
Yes. So like any talk about stimulating an immunity regarding these vaccines was always overstated, and it was overstated on purpose in order to, one, get more people to actually get the vaccines, and two, so that they could actually push the mandate.
Yep.
And so I would really love to see them declassified away from being vaccines, because they never really were in the first place.
Do you think that gesture would matter today, or is it just symbolic? Is there something that would achieve right now?
Yes.
Okay.
It would be an acknowledgement that we were lied to.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that matters, but
yes.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you for the call, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It's great to talk to you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Smart guy.
Yeah, I didn't, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I've heard people very insistent in calling it a therapeutic over a vaccine for that reason. But I guess I didn't think about regulatory implications. Like, I just thought it was kind of a propaganda term. Like, vaccine sounds stronger, better than therapeutic. But really what he's talking about is it was a way to shoehorn some power to actually try to force people to take it, which they never did, Savannah Guthrie, to be clear.
And I think it might have also been a Supreme Court case from like 100 years ago that did uphold vaccine mandates. But I think it ultimately came down to, and correct me if I'm wrong, the fact of, does it prevent you from getting it in the first place? And that's what set the COVID shot aside, separately is, well, the answer is no, hence it being a therapeutic or a preemptive therapeutic, not a vaccine.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering that correctly. But I think that was...
It's like a turn of the century... when I say that, I mean like early 1900s Supreme Court case involving a vaccine mandate in Massachusetts, I believe. I remember
that's the
reading this, but yeah. Which of course is legally different too, insofar as a local or state vaccine mandate is a different thing than an attempted federal vaccine mandate too. Okay. Golden Leaf is up next. Golden Leaf, are you there?
Yes, I am here. How are you guys doing today?
We are well. What's on your mind?
Well, I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to watch Marco Rubio. I want to get what's your guys' opinion on Rubio so far?
I didn't watch any of his appearance. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
Well, let's okay. Let me pause the clock here, because if we're responding, I don't. let me go back, because I won't take away.
I just want your guys' general opinion on him. Do you like him, hate him? Do you think he's doing a good job? Do you think he's doing a bad job?
And this is one piece of the administration that I've not paid a lot of attention to. Overall, he seems to be confidently and unapologetically, I think, pushing. I think it's fair to say a fairly pro-America stance in the context of deportations and all of these things. The one thing I'm a little unclear, or maybe I have some questions about, it's not the deportations of these students per se. Like, I don't think that, a lot of foreign students have a right to come here.
I'd like to pause real quick. The other Matt, I'm hearing an echo on your part.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I do see a little bit of light. Or do you have earpiece, or are you on speakers?
I'm on speakers. You want me to turn down the speakers?
Yeah. If you have headphones, plug those in.
Is this better?
Check. Yeah, I don't see it lighting up.
Yep, Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay.
I have to have like superhuman hearing, but it's working out.
Well, our next step, in addition to eating the mic, is getting a set of headphones. But one
Next
step
week.
at a time. The duct tape rolls on. Anyway, where I was going with this is, I think some of these foreign student deportations have been a little bit unclear on the rationale. I'm thinking about like the Mahmoud case, Khalil case, where it's like, okay, we're going to send him out of here because he like belonged to a student group, or it's not that I think these people have a right to be here or that they have a right to oppose U.S. policy in our country, on our schools. It's just some of the stuff was a little ambiguous to me. Like if you're making a move against someone, just tell us what they did. And some of that stuff has not been totally clear. So for me, I don't have a problem with Rubio. I'm not like demanding his ousting or something. I just I wish I could get a little bit more clarity on some of the moves that he's making. That's all.
I was going to say I think he's the most improved player so far. He I don't know. I wasn't expecting him to turn out the way he did, and it's very funny because you can find clips from the first Republican debates back in 2015 it was, and Rubio I think went the hardest after Trump and actually probably was the most effective in actually being able to engage and have a back and forth. And
this guy's a liar and this guy's a con artist. It was
that was
about
and
that
I
long,
guess Trump must have thought like, all right, this guy's actually good enough to come at me. Maybe he'll be good in this, but and he turned out he was.
Yeah.
When it comes to the deportations, and it's one of those things like when they're going after a lot of these anti-American leftists on the basis of anti-Semitism, I'm thinking, listen, I'll take any excuse to get rid of these people, but they've been anti-white for the past 60 years and none of you guys cared at all.
I suppose that's fair.
I'm glad we're getting rid of them, but also why not care about the majority of the population as opposed to 2%? But anyway.
I was going to say, in regards to the Trump Rubio debate, Trump's thinking this man has massive balls to come after me. I like him.
Remember the hands part?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was one of the best debate moments of all time.
All right, well, I'll throw your question back at you though. What is your Rubio take?
So far, I think he's doing an okay job. I'm giving him 7 out of 10.
That's good.
So far, he's doing okay for himself, especially with the many responsibilities he has.
Yeah.
He's not only the Secretary of State, but I think interim to the State Department and the archives.
Oh, he's National Security Advisor right now too. After Mike Waltz, that whole Signalgate debacle.
Someone said he's so good at his job it's ruining his life.
Who, Rubio?
Yeah, like having like 3 different jobs like that. You must be tearing your hair out all the time.
Does he? Is there any problem in his personal life? I don't know. Or is that just
no? They were just joking. Like all you can do is work at that point. If
I guess
got that many
so.
responsibilities.
Yeah.
And also his when he's like answering senators, there've been my favorite is if you look at a guy called Don't Walk Run Productions. I like watching him. Some of the Democrats, one of them tried to say, is Putin a war criminal? And he was going to say yes, but in the context of negotiating peace, you don't want to call someone a war criminal as you're trying to have peace negotiations. That's like calling someone a racist during a political debate. It's going to drown it out.
Well, I don't know. Kamala Harris did it implicitly, and she became vice president. So
I like
it's a good career move.
Talking about the Afrikaners, I think Tim Kaine was talking about it, and Rubio was like, "Listen, you just don't like that they're white."
Did he say that?
Rubio.
I know that his recent appearance was. I saw a lot of people praising it. I haven't watched it, but all right. So it sounds like he had some good lines in there.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, he's been in the Senate. He knows what these people are going to throw at him, and he just I think one Democratic senator tried to go after him because there was a study of potential amount of people affected by the cancellation of U.S. aid, like how many children have died and stuff.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It was a study of I think almost like 100,000 children were affected by this, like dead because of no more U.S. aid. It was ridiculous in that stance. And then there was like, what's the other nation that's been feeding the world? I'll wait.
All right. Do you have a joke for us in closing, or is that tradition dead?
Not this time. No, I just got done seeing my folks after my dad came back from the hospital. So I'm more just happy that he's doing all right. I will let you know, Tim wanted me to give you the word that it seems like there are only 2 people, as Joshy Boy has not responded to Tim.
We'll try to get Tom in here. And Joshy Boy's cheating anyway. Joshy Boy he sits shotgun. Okay, he doesn't get a call.
Yeah, yeah. Tim actually said he would be the third guy. He just didn't want to take the other spot, so that's why.
All right. Well, thank you for the update, and all the best to your family. I'm sorry to hear it, but I'm glad your dad seems to be doing well.
It's his heart, irregular heartbeat.
Okay. Well, all the best to him, and all the best to you guys.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night.
Okay, let's try. Hey Tim, are you there? Timothy?
Hello.
What's Tom's status? Can Tom? First of all, Joshy Boy's cheating, and he no, he doesn't get a call.
Okay. I've got to defend Joshy Boy because what he was actually trying to do was encourage more people to roll call so we could get more people that could be available. And I've already talked to Tom. He doesn't really have a topic. He's always in the waiting room just in case.
Okay.
He didn't really have anything this week. So you could either finish early, or I do have a topic if you're happy to grant me a rare impromptu call.
You're fired.
Or you could offer to fire me. That's a possibility.
Okay, all right. Even though it's cheating for Joshy to do it, I guess it's cheating for you to do it. I will give you a rare Dangerous Spaces call. Go ahead.
Well, this is why I normally wouldn't want to do it, because you're only taking 3 people. I would normally be taking a caller, taking their spot, but if we don't really have one. But I want to respond to something you showed a little earlier of Comey talking about the Republicans being basically just saying they're white supremacists. To me, I look at the Democrats and go, they're the white supremacist party. Maybe not in the way that Comey means, but the two areas I would say that they're white supremacist is when they talk about, who's going to be our nanny, who's going to be our gardener, who's going to be our pool boy, all that sort of stuff. Not necessarily in terms of that's all the jobs that these people can do. I meant the opposite. I meant in terms of that's almost like they're saying that that's all the people can do. They're not really going to be skilled at anything else. But also from the perspective of, I think it was the Ohio governor, Kate Brown, that introduced.
She was Oregon, but yeah, another O state.
I knew it was one of the O states. I'm an Australian. Give me a break. She introduced the law of you don't have to be able to read and write, and you basically don't have to be able to do anything to graduate from school, because if we don't do that, it disproportionately affects black and brown people. And it just seems to me that they're the party that basically views them as hopeless, and either they can't do stuff, but also from another perspective, the Democrats need to artificially lift them up. They need to put the thumb on the scale for basically anyone non-white. And I'd just be curious what you guys think of that.
So would you say that the Democrats are the real racists?
I mean, pretty much. Again, I think even the term white supremacist applies, maybe not in the way they would describe it.
They're like self-loathing white supremacists, though.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like the thing about the soft bigotry of low expectations is, and I hate to say it, but it largely is correct. And that when you do have a level playing field, there is a natural hierarchy of Asian, white. Or it's largely Asian and Jewish, then white, and then Hispanic, and then black in most fields. I mean, there's obvious exceptions, but that is how things net out in every single country where these groups exist. And
in every different performance metric, by the way, too. Yeah, it's like it's not just IQ tests or something like that.
It's
if you want to have a dunk contest, you're going to get racially disproportionate results. I'm sorry to tell you, it's going to happen.
Yeah. There was I was reading a study about a school where they were spending. It was a huge experiment on like how what happens. I think we're spending $60,000 a year on mostly black school. It was kids from broken families that were scoring the bottom 10%, and with $60,000 per student, they were able to get them maybe to the bottom 30%. Like it was an improvement, but it's. Like there's a natural limit to human ability, and it doesn't mean it's going to be this way forever, but I don't know why we're pretending that we're ever going to have parity, because we're just not going to, and we need to just get used to it and realize it doesn't mean people are worth less or anything.
It's delusional to think otherwise. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're right. It doesn't decrease a person's value in the eyes of God, whether they have certain talents or certain abilities or not. But to pretend that people don't have those different talents and different abilities on average across groups is delusional. I'll never forget a conversation I had with a leftward inclined friend, a few years ago. And it ended up going the wrong way, as many political discussions do. But he firmly believed that, I think his phrasing was, everyone is equally capable of intelligence, which was just a baffling. What are you talking? What do you mean? Like, he genuinely believed that everyone is born in the purest blank slate, and that your intelligence is strictly a product of your education, your upbringing. Everyone is equally capable of becoming the next Einstein or something like that, some revolutionary thinker, which obviously is not the case.
Intelligence is somehow the one the one trait that is not heritable. Like athletic ability. If your parents are really athletic, you will be born with a predisposition, regardless of how hard you train. Like, all variables held constant, you will be better. Like, in every possible way, if your parents are skilled musicians, their kids are born with a more natural talent, even controlling for lessons they get or being around their parents. So why would intelligence be any different? And listen, I mean, just look at the history of Africa versus. Would you rather live in ancient Greece or live in Africa today? Like, we're separated by thousands of years, and one group is clearly more advanced than the other.
Hey, if only those colonizers would fuck off. If only those South African farmers would get the hell out of there, it would be utopia.
You ever watch Empire of Dust before?
No, its name sounds familiar, but I don't know what that is.
It's an experiment so it's about a Chinese company. Cut me off if I ramble, but it's about a Chinese company that goes into, I think, the Congo.
I referenced this. This is it's also a tiresome documentary.
Yes, that's what it's from. Yeah. And it, even when they leave behind the infrastructure for the locals, they just scrap it for parts. And in fact, in that movie Black Panther, the most realistic scene was when, like, the spaceship from Wakanda lands on Earth, and the first thing the ghetto kids do is try to scrap it for parts. Like, that was the most realistic part of the entire movie, but that happens in real life everywhere, and it's hilarious.
Fuck you.
All right, Tim. You want any final thought before I let you go?
Yeah, completely random one. Guys, I really want to encourage anyone that's even thinking about calling in. Just give it a go. I'm here to help. I can take you through it. I know Discord's a bit confusing. I'm even tempted to put out my email somehow for people to send me if they can't figure out even how to get into Discord. But yeah, I would encourage people to call in, have a chat. It's fun. You'll enjoy it. And I'm happy to help you figure out anything that you get stuck on. So,
all right. Well, thank you for your help as always, Tim.
You're fired.
No worries.
Have a good night or a good day, whatever it is down under.
Yes, it is. I don't know. Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Okay. It is time for, thanks to our callers, by the way. It is time for a few email questions, Matt. Got some of those. By the way, if you would like to send an email, a thought or a question for consideration on the show, you can do that by using the contact page of my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. Look for the MC Live questions box is where you can submit those. But first up tonight is Kitchen Sink. Kitchen Sink writes, the last few years of the West being plunged into decay by weak and corrupt leaders bringing in or allowing criminals to run rampant, this has made me completely change my perspective on the death penalty. The British Empire publicly executed between 0.5% and 1% of its male population annually because of criminality. Public floggings were common. The public knew the penalty of egregious crimes. The Bible says the civil magistrate does not bear the sword in vain, and that the unrighteous should tremble at the judgment of the officials God has put over the people. Do you think America should return to such public displays of justice, I assume? Or is our judiciary too corrupt to allow this? Because we have plenty of public displays, as we saw in Seattle. Not short on those, but we need a different type for sure.
Yeah.
Now
well, yes.
You can go ahead if you want, if you have thoughts.
Well, I was going to say, people against the death penalty will say the death penalty doesn't actually deter crime. And they're correct because it takes like 20 years to apply. And often it gets overturned anyway. And it's more the probability of getting caught that affects criminality more even so than the sentence, which does matter. But if we had it where if you're getting executed, it's going to be like in front of a WWE crowd, I think that would be a deterrent. And we should charge like $20 a ticket. I would go.
Well, the death penalty has made me conflicted more than any issue. Maybe I've been awfully conflicted on drug consumption too, as a matter of principle. Not that I think drug consumption is good, but like, do you have a right to do it? That sort of stuff. On the death penalty, the reason it is so conflicting to me, number one, is because that's a lot of power in the state. To life and death decision, do I trust the state to properly execute, no pun intended, that decision? Not necessarily, but the more I think about it, it's like, well, we give the state life and death authority all the time. Every police officer who's carrying a gun is a life and death authority exercising agent of the state. This is another example of it, but it's not necessarily odd in that regard. And then the other reason that the death penalty I've been critical of it or skeptical of it is for the point that you're making. Like, do we have a deterrent system or a justice system? Is the point to bring justice to a crime, or is it to deter people from future crimes? They're not even mutually exclusive purposes necessarily. They can go together. But over time, I'm warming to the death penalty. Maybe I've just seen too much degeneracy. It's like, all right, the death penalty, maybe we need a little bit of that. But the death penalty certainly is justice for certain crimes. It's just, it must be appropriately applied, and you got to have a lot of guardrails on it. But generally speaking, you do. You only have it for a very limited set of crimes, and it usually has to be a unanimous jury verdict. You really mitigate the possibility for mistakes. But the question here is really about like the public display. So I think you can remove this from the death penalty context and say, should we make criminal justice, should we bring penalties in a criminal justice context into public viewing more? And in response to that question, I'm fully on board.
Yeah.
Sometimes the embarrassment is the deterrent, and it's not a permanent piece of damage to a person, like locking them up in prison or executing them or something. Like tarring and feathering, as I will always say, in the colonial era, it was non-fatal. Like, yeah, it might be a little warm, might hurt a little bit, but it was non-fatal. It was not actually like you weren't killing a person when you were tarring and feathering. If you think that's too cruel, the old tomatoes at the pillory in the town square, okay? Shame is a necessary and useful component of justice. I've become convinced of that in recent years. So insofar as we can make examples of people in humane ways, I do think that that's an important and necessary component of a justice system. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, the obvious argument against the death penalty is, what about those who are wrongfully convicted or killed? And there was a very interesting philosophy paper called The Strange Paradox of Innocence. And the guy looked at cases and found that if you are wrongly convicted of, let's just say, murder, and you have the choice between life in jail or the death penalty, your likelihood of being exonerated and removed from prison is substantially higher if you're convicted of death, because there's so many appeals up until the actual execution.
Your likelihood of getting out of prison entirely.
Yes, because throughout, suppose throughout the appeal process, they figure out, whoa, you were wrongfully convicted.
You find a Jussie Smollett procedural error, and you get away scot-free, and you proclaim your innocence on Instagram. Yeah.
I mean, it's a volume game on the appeals. Basically, it's like you're getting way more chances to prove your innocence if you're sentenced to death afterwards. That, in theory, should make you more likely to be exonerated, but if you had to make the bet, I mean, I would rather just be dead, to be honest, instead of life in jail. So it would work out either way. But
this is the thing too. Like prison, we are so far in the opposite direction of criminal justice and punishment being a deterrent that in rare instances, it's actually a reward. What I mean by that is there are cases of hobos who appear to have murdered other hobos as a means to getting in to prison, where they get a bed and they get meals and they get all sorts of assistance in that way. I'm not saying every hobo murder. I'm just saying, would I rather live on the streets with the other hobos, or would I prefer to live in the comforts of a prison cell?
I think you get iPads now too, so it's not that bad. I would just play video games all day, I guess.
Yeah.
Like if I was a loser, I don't know.
How closely have you followed the ongoings of the Letitia James mortgage fraud scandal?
Not too much. I think I saw she got heckled recently or something, but that was was all.
Email from Sleazebag Lawyer Hate to that topic. Do you think the message from Letitia James, and thank you for typing it and pronouncing it correctly.
People say Letitia for some reason.
I know, I can't stand it.
Yeah.
She sent a message to her mortgage broker. Was that a pathetic ploy to try to avoid a future conviction on her intentional mortgage fraud and to convince retards that she did nothing wrong to any and that any charges against her are political retribution? And I know you linked a Nate the Lawyer video. I'm not able to watch that on the spot, and I wasn't able to watch that beforehand today. So I'll kind of take your word for it, Sleazebag Lawyer Hate guy. And I did have time to just read a little bit about what I think you're talking about, because I've not followed this case closely. But I see in the news coverage that she sent a text message to her mortgage broker that she is not a Virginia resident and she never will be, in all caps. So she was very clear about that. The question is, was that sincere or was that like a cover your ass legal move?
Probably a hedge.
Yeah. This all relates to the allegation that Letitia James had a principal residence in Virginia, which is a legal problem in New York since the Attorney General of New York must by law live in New York. The problem is, if she actually lived in New York, she said on this mortgage application that she co-signed for her niece that she lives in Virginia. Okay, so who did she lie to? Did she lie to New York or did she lie to the bank lending the money for this piece of property? She must have lied to at least one, is the problem for Letitia James. So I don't know the specifics of what's going on here, but if the question is, are we looking at with this text to her mortgage broker, I definitely don't live in Virginia, in case anybody asks. Yeah, that reads like strategy, because generally you don't go out of your way to deny things unless they're legally relevant. Hey, guy with whom I'm doing a business deal, just so you know, on the record, it's not this, wink, wink, har, har. That sounds like what was going on here. But I think it's strategic, not just because it reads that way. It's also supported by the facts. She texts her mortgage broker that she doesn't live in Virginia. In that context, like, you might be lying, but there's not really a consequence other than your mortgage broker might be like, are you sure about that? I mean, it's not really even on a form. It's just a text message. On the legal document, though, her power of attorney, a filing with the state, she said she's a Virginia resident. She says that was a mistake. Okay, I have a hard time believing that's a mistake. You're the most powerful lawyer in New York, at least prosecutor. Your job is not making mistakes on paperwork. Now, could I believe that Letitia James has maybe earned her job through other means beyond performance? Yeah, I could believe that. But the question here is, who mistakenly lists their state of residence on legal paperwork? I know that, like, okay, I'm not the sort of person that owns property in multiple states. I don't live half the year in Florida and half the year in some northern climate or something. Maybe there's a context in which you might make that mistake that's less obvious to, say, a person who lives a normal life in one home. But it seems hard to me to believe that you would just mistakenly write the wrong state on a piece of paperwork by accident, the state that you live in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think her whole case against Trump was just projection.
Well, it's, yeah.
That's where she got
so.
the idea. She was like, oh, yeah, let's see if, he's done what I did.
At this point, whoever makes these accusations, they need to be immediately investigated for the exact same
thing.
Yeah. Allegation. Or alization, as Tiffany Henyard would say. Supermayor, what happened to her? And I know she's facing her own legal problems. I haven't heard a Tiffany Henyard update for a little while.
She still got like 10% of the vote, which I thought was still kind of impressive for.
Well, she just beat all those people up. She coerced them through violence to vote for her. Bruce LeBlanc Cat. Do Catholics have the right system for elections? If we substitute the Pope for the president, then only elite men and no women would be voting for the next president. You would have, for the most part, around 2,000 years of upholding the Constitution with a bit of pedophilia history and no nepotism of genetic lineage. Okay, so some asterisks to be concerned about.
Yeah.
In theory, our presidential election system's kind of like that. Of course, the states award award electoral votes through electors. It's the electors who vote, strictly speaking. And as a practical matter these days, those electoral votes they're supposed to follow the will of the state electorate, which includes not just women, but non-contributing degenerate members of society as well. Now, it is 100% conclusively, provably true. If women didn't vote, Democrat Party is done. Even David Hogg can't save them. And that's because single women, specifically, like single women as a subgroup, they vote Democrat much more than pretty much any other demographic. Single women might vote Democrat more than black people do. Fact check me on that, but it's got to be close.
I think single women are like 70%, blacks are 90%, but it's basically, I mean, it's a super majority. Vote.
But the interesting thing about women is once they get married, they flip. Like, few are as committed to the Democrat Party as women are, but then nobody abandons them as hard as women do when they get married. They switch radically. They become more reliable Republican or conservative voters, and that's because women are malleable. They're led by their husbands, and that's the effect that you're watching. Now, as I've talked about on this stream before, if I was designing the voting system, I don't know that I would go by gender, because I think that male is more of just a proxy for the real question. Do you have skin in the game or do you not? Those are questions like, do you own property? Are you a net contributor or producer, or are you a net consumer or taker? The principle there being, if you're not sufficient in providing for yourself and your family, what reason do you have to be exercising power over other people who are? You should be working your way up in the meantime. So my preference on voting rights would be something like property ownership for a vote. The problem is the idiot policy that has been allowed to become dominant in the meantime makes property ownership less attainable than it used to be, even for honest, productive people who I think should be empowered with a vote. But you have any thoughts on how our voting? Do the Catholics have it right? Should we adopt some sort of papal conclave strategy to electing our president?
I mean, there are a lot of countries that basically do that, where the parliament elects the president, but those are usually countries where the prime minister is the real president. So I guess it's not like that. No, I think that just no women voting is a better alternative.
All right. Yeah. All right. We'll just be simple about it.
Yeah.
Ski says, do you recall when Trump had a list of campaign promises on his website, and then several regarding healthcare providers conveniently disappeared shortly after his election victory? Stuff like that makes me highly cynical of anything he does, even the good stuff, especially one regarding requiring price transparency. Carl Denninger has excellent coverage and analysis regarding this. Might be a good interview candidate. He has an excellent blog at market-ticker.org. Also, watching your reaction to Joshi and GR's anime and weeb discussion was hilarious. I too share your disdain for anime. Thank you. First and foremost, Matt, your anime opinion.
Listen, if you have an anime profile picture, I don't care about anything you have to say. No offense.
Bingo.
All right.
Just not
correct.
Happening. Yeah.
You're 2 for 2 on women voting and anime profile pictures.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, Ski, I'm glad you enjoyed the accidental comedy, but I don't recall. Do you remember like Trump campaign promises about medical system transparency? I don't know what the specifics were there, but
I remember his first term, he promised price transparency.
Okay.
And the healthcare lobbied like hell against that, and it ended up not happening.
What would the transparency be? Like they must post the price of service is X. Price of X service is Y.
You have to list it on your website. Okay. And the thing is, like, no one knows what anything costs in healthcare. Like when I go to the doctor, I'm like, this is going to cost $200 or $2,500, and I have no idea which or how to know that.
Yeah.
And if hospitals had to post it, in theory, I mean, listen, I get medical care is not the same kind of market as like a retail item, but in theory, they should at least have consistent pricing, but the cost of a surgery can vary by tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of percentages just miles apart. It makes no sense whatsoever.
I remember the few times I actually have asked a doctor, do you know what that will cost? Like when I had my DVT, you remember that episode?
Deep vein thrombosis, DVT.
I had to get an ultrasound to evaluate my potential blood clot. And I asked the ER doctor, he gave me 2 options I could pursue. And I said, well, like, what's the cost on A and B? And he's like, I don't know, like maybe this on A and maybe that on B. He didn't know. And he wasn't like deceiving me. At least I didn't take it that way. I believe that he really had no idea beyond a general ballpark. And yeah, that's interesting. I don't, I hate doctors, so I avoid them generally. But the few times I've asked a doctor or a provider, what will this cost? I have never got a straight answer in the way you're describing.
It's made up. I had a friend, he got a bill for having a kid of like $20,000.
Yeah.
And he didn't have insurance. So he just called them and said, I can't pay this. He ended up paying like $1,000 for it. And I'm like, what?
Well, a lot of hospitals, they just,
like, what idiots are paying this then?
They write off, charity care for people who can't afford it. But I guess I've never tried the old, hey, I can't afford this. Can you knock it down? Because in the case of your friend, it sounds like they didn't even evaluate his finances. They just
I think I might just get rid of my insurance and just tell people I'm broke. I'm not, but
Anyway,
see how it goes.
Okay, so I assume that's the theme of the question here, something to that effect. Trump talked about that, didn't do it. Okay. I hate to be a little bit of a wet blanket on this, or I suppose a little bit of a realist. If the problem is a politician breaking a campaign promise, get used to it. Is what I would say. I don't say that to let Trump off the hook or be like, it's fine that he didn't do what he said he was going to do. I just say that to be realistic. Politicians talk about what they're going to do, then they don't. And it's forever going to be that way. But I think there are a few ways that you can be, that you can maintain accountability while being realistic about that truth. Number one, you got to allow time. We are still 5 months into this second Trump term. These things may be coming. They might be working on that sort of thing right now. So give it a little bit of time. Number two, I would say the thing that they actually should be aggressively held accountable for, and we actually should be angry about, is when politicians do the opposite. Not doing something you said you were going to do. That could still be a yet question. Like, haven't got around to it. A lot of stuff going on. Doing the opposite from what they said they were going to do, that must be highly scrutinized. You said you were going to do X, and it's not just that you haven't done it yet. You actually did Y, the opposite of that. And I know this is a much lower standard than we would apply to really anybody else in our lives. Your friends, your family, your coworkers. If any of them, the expectation was like, well, I know you don't do what you say you're going to do, but could you at least just not do the opposite of what you... I know that's a low bar. But that's exactly the point, because a politician is not and never will be your friend or your family. They're not even going to be your coworker, really. They're always going to be too much of a letdown with too much political power, too much power generally, not enough accountability. That's why their powers have to be strongly limited, not expanded. Point is, if you want stuff done, you should rely on those you trust for good reason. Family, friends, community, not the president. Again, I'm not dismissing the idea of presidential accountability. It's just we shouldn't be expecting the world of these people in the first place is a giant mistake. Shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, pretty much. Although I don't know, as long as he deports anyone who can deport 30 million people, I don't care what else they do. I support them.
I don't care. If I show up and I get, I don't know, they give me a reflex test with a knock on the knee, and they say that'll be $1 million.
I'll pay it.
I'll talk them down to $100. Yeah.
Put me on an installment plan. Yeah, good point. Let's negotiate it down on insurance. No, I mean, I know
next time you're in there, and when your kid is born, here's what I want you to do. You ever see the Peter Griffin negotiation bit on Family Guy? Let me see if I can pull that up.
Was that when he's over like a boat or a mystery box?
When you go in and your lovely wife is giving birth to your firstborn child, I want you to hold on.
Peter, there's no way you could.
Let me pull this back up here. Get it on screen.
I've definitely seen it. I just can't think of it.
Let me. All right. This is the negotiation tactic I want you to deploy.
Go to your room.
Peter, there's no way you could die. You're the most important character in this family.
I'll take this one, but I won't pay a cent over $60.
Sir, that casket costs $1,000.
Okay, $70.
What?
$2,000.
That's twice what it costs.
Seen this.
$40.
What?
He doesn't know how to haggle.
I want you to try that one. Do that method.
The first 3 seasons of Family Guy were so good. I don't know what happened, but
I think it lasted longer than that. But I haven't watched for a while.
Up to 5 maybe, but yeah, it used to be one of the best shows.
Anyway, I'll try that one too. Good tactic. Anyway, back to the point. Thank you to the emailers for sending in their questions. Really appreciate that. And as a reminder, if you'd like to send a question or thought for consideration on the show, you can do that through the contact page on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. Look for the MC Live questions box, and that means it's time for Super Chat before we get out of here. So let me see if I can get YouTube and Tippy going. And over on Rumble, I'll start there while those load up. Ninja Kitty Bonks. Great to see Trump appears to be conceding spending cuts needed with BBB, not to be confused with the Better Business Bureau. Build Back Better. The big, beautiful bill. Nobody ever has had the balls to go after the swamp, and he needs to break the cycle and drain that bitch. Hey, Trump is not known for making concessions. He's not known for... I like that, though. I know it's out of character, and sometimes there's danger in wanting Trump not to be Trump, but I can't stand that version of Trump that is like trying to lecture. Nobody voted for Trump for Biden-era spending. Not a single person, not an independent, not a Republican, not anybody. We wanted that stuff gone. And for him to stand up there and lecture like Thomas Massey and the rest of them as like dumb or unprincipled. Yeah. No, you don't understand why people voted for you. So I like this. I'm glad to see it. But Dangerous Spaces, our friendly call screener. We've seen how the state has abused lawfare against people like Trump. January 6th, there's even the Whitmer kidnapping Fed op. I do not want to give people like that the power to end someone's life. Yeah, that's kind of the perspective I came from before. But my mind's changing a little bit just because, okay, but isn't that like an argument against, if not all government power, like certainly lethal government power in any context? Like, how does that argument stand up to the idea of police officers carrying guns in general? Let's put it that way. Like, should they just be disarmed? They shouldn't have that power. I don't know. It seems hard to square that. Can you? I know that you're like coming from a pro-death penalty perspective, but try to steel man the other side. If you had to make an argument about why the death penalty is bad because the state shouldn't be trusted with that sort of power over life and death, but cops carrying guns, which itself is power over life and death, is acceptable. Why? What's the distinction?
The state already has that ability. Like, not even just with the cops. It's you could put someone in jail forever. So, what's the difference? And it's. I mean, I get it's technically the state, but it's also a jury. So you'd have to more attack the jury system than the whole it's the government putting people in jail. And the jury system's very flawed. I mean, there's an enormous amount of racial bias, and there's evidence recently that in the UK, at least, if you have a majority-minority jury, the minority gets off like 75% of the time or something absurd. So there are a lot of biases there.
The old OJ effect.
Yeah, there was that. So yeah, it's a deeply flawed system, but it's I'm not entirely sure what the alternative is because judges have their own biases as well. In fact, there are a lot of judges that go into the profession just to be political activists. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know the solution. To be honest, my opinions on this are not actually that strong. I just think if we are going to have it, it should be in public for our benefit.
Might as well make a show of it.
It'll make live leak. Yeah.
Dangerous Spaces also says Tiffany Henyard's replacement was sworn in as mayor on the 5th of this month. Remember, he got 88% of the vote. Damn. At a glance, it seems the FBI is still investigating her. I'll keep looking into it. I know the investigation is ongoing. I just don't know what she's doing day to day now. Yeah. Mr. GR, hey, you dirty ass riggers. How dare you speak so foul about some light anime consumption? Hey, I didn't bring it up. It was just the emailer. I'll have you know, I do a lot of this for the women. Why do you watch trash TV again, and why is it manly? Explain. Hey, I watch it for quality bonding time with my wife. I never claimed it was like an exercise in masculinity. GR also says, I wish I would have known about the call-in situation. I saw it full and left. I guess I should have tried to get in tonight. Shout out to Joshy and Tim. Hey, Majaga and my kangaroo. Also says, hey, bitch. Well, thank you. Remember that one time you said something I happen to disagree with? You're dead to me. Dead. Oh, so he's all right. He's doing the emailer bit. How dare you have slightly differing opinions? I know that that's like a small group of people. And again, nobody's entitled to anyone's listen. And I guess I just think it's weird too to like announce your departure. Of course, like I've had people who I used to like to listen to and maybe I don't anymore for whatever reason. You move on, and that's okay. It's not even like a personal thing. I've never done the personal email though, like I will not be listening to you anymore. Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't really know what you want me to say because I appreciate that you did listen and you did find value in it. That's great. But are you asking me to please you personally? Are you asking me to adjust my beliefs to accommodate you? What is it that you want from me?
I started doing this thing where I reply back like, "Please no, I can change. There's so much more a future we have together." Yeah.
I'm open to meeting with a therapist with you to try to resolve our relationship.
Our differences.
Yeah.
We can do therapy. I just make it really dramatic, and they realize how dumb they sound. Hopefully, but I don't. Maybe they don't.
My wife tells me, and I should put myself in this mindset because it's one reason that I try to stay away. As sometimes we talk about, I try to stay away from like YouTube comments, like random Twitter fights. I just don't think it's psychologically good for a person to engage in like random people's commentary about you on the internet. I think it's kind of damaging. But for the same way, when emails come in hot, like you suck for this reason or that, or like I listened to you for this long, but I won't listen anymore. My reaction is always like frustration, like frustration with the idea that like you're upset with me, but frustration with the idea that you're going to announce it to me as though we have this like personal relationship. I've never heard from you before. I have no idea who you are. As my wife reminds me though, you need to reframe your mind and think like, okay, whatever it is that you've made or whatever you've created, it matters enough for that person to be motivated to communicate with you about that. And whether they're going to stick around or not, that does mean that there was some kind of impact made on their life, that they would take the time to try to, I guess, browbeat you or me into compliance with their worldview. But even though it seems insulting, there is a very sincere compliment there. It's implied, but it is there. And it's important to remember that. So
sometimes I write back, "Who are you?" That satisfies me.
Oh,
anyway,
man.
My strategy.
Anyway. GR also says, precisely, them e-girls love anime for some reason. Love it, and I gotta adapt. Well, hey, if you're getting all the e-girls, congratulations to you, man. I'm sure you've earned them all.
Congratulations, butthead.
Appreciate it, GR. Dangerous Spaces does appreciate the chance to get in a rare call. Too bad I had a bit of a Biden moment mid-call, not the stutter. If you see 3 roll call anyway, callers need to leave all the time. That's true. Yeah, if you're trying to call in and you're kind of on the edge or, you don't think you're going to get in, hang out a minute, especially if you're going to stick around and watch the stream. Cuz you never know. You might get in anyway. All right. What's going on here? None of this stuff. Oh, great. Is Tippy stream not feeding through? I know we had. What is going on here? Because I saw them pop up and now they're not in my feed. So something's gone haywire with my feed. I can still find your chats on YouTube and Tippy. They're just not where they should be. So let me go digging into the YouTube and try to find them. Because I saw them pop up on the stream, so I know they're there. I don't want to miss them. God, so many things to navigate. All right, here we go. Long Dong John. Oh, actually, Lowbrow McCarthy. I know you told me how to pronounce this. I'm already gone. M to Kathy. Whatever. I told you I wasn't going to be able to pronounce it again. I appreciate your support for the show. Fun fact, Matt Palumbo writes gay erotica under the name James Bailey. Read more, buy his books. What's that about?
It's it became this meme within a Facebook group we were in where this guy named James Bailey would always be encouraging people to read more, but it would be because sometimes he would be copying large blocks of text and including the part where it would say read more, like so you'd have to click for the rest of the text.
Oh, I see.
Where he would just, I guess, copy without even realizing what he was copying. So like it's become a meme over years in our like a Facebook group we're in, and then we started an offshoot group for book recommendations called the Read More Book Club. But he's just sort of become a fixture within our group. He's like our resident liberal troll in the International Retards Assembly. And
that's right. I forgot about this whole.
been,
What's the
going for
gay
like a
erotica
decade now.
angle? You don't know? He doesn't. He's not involved in gay erotica.
Oh, gay erotica? No, that is my pen name now, where I write gay erotica. It's on Amazon.
Many of those people probably have AIDS.
Long Dong John, I can't wait to see the Trump-Whitmer meeting after the pardons drop. Now we need to see the feds behind the setup prosecutor. Well, that would be an excellent development. Yeah, if you actually prosecute Dan the Fed and company, that would be hilarious. Long Dong John also says, in before a Biden-appointed judge issues an injunction forcing the CDC to re-recommend the Fauci sauce. I've never heard it called the Fauci sauce before. That's a good one. Wouldn't that be, out of all the insane orders, injunctions, whatever, no CDC, you must recommend the vaccine again. It's a mandate that you recommend.
For not recommending my book.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we all have standing to sue them to recommend things, might as well get in on the revenue opportunity. Injured Guardian, congrats on the girl. Help bring back Hope Chess. Buy her a cedar chest and fill it with useful things. It's a wedding gift, and until then, a teaching aid. That's kind of a cool idea. You build like a gift over time that you'll give to her someday in early adulthood, you know?
What is it? Let me look that up. Cedar chest?
He said it's Hope Chest. But I think the idea here, I'm not familiar with it specifically, but it sounds like you buy a little container and you fill it with things that are going to be meaningful to her on her wedding day, or maybe at a graduation, or sometime in her early adulthood.
Pretty cool.
You know?
Yeah, there's a whole Wikipedia page, hundreds of years of Hope. There's a Hope Chest from the 15th century. It's just, I thought this guy was gonna like have a promo code at the end of his comment, but no, this is real. It's cool. Thank you for this.
Is there a promo code in the Hope Chest from the 1500s, though? That's
Hope
the question.
just sounds like a podcast marketing thing. I don't know, but it's not. I'm glad it's a legit. I will actually do this. Thank you.
You need a Cope Chest, actually, these days. It's not a Hope Chest, it's a Cope Chest. Is there going to be a world for her to exist in 20 years' time?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Probably. I'll make sure. Maybe not in this country, given certain factors, but we'll find something.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah.
A lot of wilderness left in this part of the country. You can always come out here and start, a Dutton Ranch or something like that.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Joshy boy, I know there are some Protestants who would get on my ass about this, but this whole be nice mentality and bizarre refusal to defend themselves and mock the left is nonsensical to me. So this is kind of the point you were raising earlier about is there a little bit too much forgiveness going on at this Christian event?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I would hope that they would say forgiveness and justice are, necessary ingredients of the same virtuous pie here, not just forgiveness for its own sake. But I don't know. I'm sure someone could make the counter case to me. Anyway, forgiveness has been a theme commonly discussed with me for over the last year for various reasons, and it's a concept I struggle with myself.
Yeah, me too. I find it very difficult.
I think that forgiveness is important insofar as it frees you from the burden of anger, hate, negative emotion. But for the same reason that you guys are talking about, I don't forgive for things where justice has not been realized. I guess what I'm saying is I forgive insofar as it frees me mentally. Is that selfish? I don't know.
Well,
I'm going to get philosophically lectured for being wrong about this, but yeah, I think that forgiveness for the sake of forgiveness can be or is foolish if it does not achieve some sort of justice as a companion part of it.
For me, I don't know if it's I guess maybe this just is forgiveness, but for me, it's more for the self-serving reason of I don't feel like thinking about this anymore, so I'm just going to say, you know what, there's bigger problems in the world.
Well, that is true.
Is the fact of forgiveness.
I mean, it sounds selfish, but it is true. As a man, as a father, as a husband, there are things that are not only more deserving of your attention, it's imperative that you give them your attention. You have a moral obligation to give those things your attention. So forgiveness frees you from the burden of distraction and negative emotion on things that are not as important as those things. But forgiveness for those who don't think they did anything wrong and aren't offering any sort of apology or any.
For them.
I mean, yeah, like why am I supposed to go to them and bend the knee to them?
Correct.
But that's the
incentivizes more.
Yeah, that's the aspect of it I don't understand, and maybe I'm misunderstanding the counter argument. So I probably am. I'm sure it's something we'll return to going forward. Injured Guardian. Oh wait, Joshy Boy has another one. What most Christians these days need to understand is that we're in a spiritual warfare. We need to fight back with fervor and defend our beliefs as if our lives depended on it, because they probably do. I guess what I'm saying is the concepts of mercy and forgiveness can still be exercised in the pursuit of justice. You know, the point of forgiving someone isn't just to forgive them to forget or something. You want to forgive in the hope that they reform, in the hope that they do better, in the hope that they pursue something better than the behavior they just exhibited. That's what you're aiming for. So you can still be trying to pursue and achieve justice in this world and be merciful or forgiving in that pursuit without just letting people off the hook for bullshit. You know, there is a way to thread this needle. Injured Guardian, social media shows that people have zero shame now. That's true too. Like shame is just totally lost. Needs to come back. Make shame great again. Great White, do you ever read the chats after the show? Do you realize the hijinks that goes on there? No.
Many of those people probably have AIDS.
I stay away from, not because I don't have any, I hugely appreciate everybody who listens to my product, whether you love it and listen to everything I do, or whether you're here for a brief stop to hate and move on with your day. I appreciate everybody who makes my production a part of their lives. It's just like for my own mental health, I don't think reading anonymous comments about you on the internet is a healthy thing. It'll occupy my mind and distract me from the things that are important in the way I described. I can't forgive you sons of bitches who write mean things anonymously on the internet. It consumes my mental space, so I have to see myself out.
Speaking of which, someone comments Matt struggles with the concept of forgiveness just like his heterosexuality.
Why are you gay?
I mean,
it could go for either of us because we were both saying we struggle with it. So maybe it's about me. It's probably about me, actually.
Okay. YouTube, I think I've caught up on. Glad I was able to recover those chats. Thank you guys. Let me see if I can recover. I know there were some on Tippy stream, I think. Let me double check over there and make sure I did not miss out on those. We'll see if I can get into that system. Oh boy. What in the... This is going to be some boomer tech navigation here. Stand by. See if I can get in. Oh, agree to our privacy terms. All right, this is a defense far too strong. I'll never penetrate. Okay. Actually, I think we might be good on Tippy stream.
Cool.
Might be clear.
Anything on Rumble or?
I think we're good on Rumble. Or wait, Long Dungeon. Yeah, that was from last stream. Okay. Yeah. We are good on Rumble. Oh, I forgot Odyssey though. Really quickly over on Odyssey. Blanket's always sending me funny memes over there. Appreciate it. Matt, what do you think about the about RFK getting Skittles to remove dioxide from them?
I agree with that.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I can't even pretend to bullshit my way through this question.
I don't give a damn fuck.
I wish he put his stance in there so I could just pretend I agree. So I could just agree with it regardless of what it was, you know?
Did you, I posted a video earlier today on this Afghan guy who shot at cops upon arrest in Virginia. Have you seen that story?
I saw this. I didn't watch the video yet because I thought it would just piss me off, but I am going to.
Not that you have to watch my video, but the reason I bring it up is because the cop is very calm, very forgiving with this guy. And he keeps repeating this line.
I don't give a damn fuck.
I just think it's the greatest line.
I don't give a damn fuck.
I need that button for my everyday existence.
I don't give a damn fuck.
I saw this this police body cam video today where this cop was clearly a bit fatigued and he was talking to this woman. He goes, "Listen, I'm not trying to be a dick. Actually, you know what? I am trying to be a dick."
Fatigued right out of professional conduct. All right.
Correct.
Blanket says, Matt, titanic dioxide will also be removed from M&M's, Snickers, and Kind bars. I don't know, man. M&M's and Snickers are both elite, so they better taste the same by the end of this, or RFK, it's over. I'm coming for you. Titanium dioxide is the ingredient that I guess is allegedly damaging or toxic or something. As long as the Snickers taste the same, RFK is okay with me. Probably, it's got to be the best candy bar ever made. Yeah. I would, other candy bars have their place, but nobody beats Snickers. If you could only have one for the rest of your life, it's got to be the Snickers bar. I don't think that that's particularly controversial. So give me the titanium, give me the hydrogenated oils and Skippy peanut butter. I need them. Give me titanium dioxide in my Snickers bars. They're just fine the way that they are. All right. You want to say anything else before we are out of here?
I don't buy my book. I don't know. Have a good night.
You've been promoted enough. All right.
Pretend it's like a super chat, but you're helping me get to the New York Times bestseller list for the low price of $20.
Well, thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks to our live chatters and super chatters for making the live show a success. Thanks to our callers and emailers. Thanks to Matt Palumbo for sitting in tonight. Follow him on X and find his new book, Alex Soros, The Heir, available for pre-order, linked in the description. Anything else show related, mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay. I'm back on Sunday night. Hope to see you then.